exciting episode of This Old Relic. There's really not a lot on this one. I'm going to bring out a piece of equipment that I've had for a little while before the channel started. I don't think I've had it on before. It's one of those old pieces of equipment. This is really what started me with the antique phase, believe it or not. It's actually a piece of equipment that was part of the line of, excuse the mess here, but that thing right there, the Ryan Lawn Air, I actually found an ad that has this machine as well as the Ryan Lawn Air advertised along with it. And it's one of my favorite machines. I think it might be one of the oldest ones I got. I have to check the date code just to be sure. But I have another machine over here. This is one I acquired in the spring. I think it made a few guest spot appearances with the button. I had it in the garage at the time when I was working on it. But I'm thinking, I'm liking on this machine a lot. It's this one right back here. The TOR wheel horse. I know you wheel horse guys are probably like, oh, well, it's a Toro, it's got to be junk. But I'm actually kind of liking it. And I'm just kind of thinking, where do I want to go with it? What do I want to do with it? I really don't have much of a use for a garden tractor. I mean, I have like a whole quarter of an acre lot. You know, it's a standard city lot. I'm in a neighborhood. So I don't really need a garden tractor, but I really like having one. And I got two of them right now. So, but I want to like keep this one, and I'm trying to think of what I want to do with it. If we're going to try to kind of restore it, or maybe do some modifications to it. I know there's some issues with it, and this I think you saw before. My fun patch job on the hood. I did go all out and got the red duct tape to match the hood. I know it's barely noticeable, right? So I kind of want to do something with the hood. Maybe fabricate a new hood or something like that, and maybe we'll do something different. Maybe we'll just try to, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. If maybe we'll just get like a piece of metal and try to bend it the same way that the plastic is, or I haven't quite decided. I do like how it has these big tires in the back, although it looks like I might have to replace them, at least one of them. So I probably won't like it when I see how much that's going to cost. Just for the part alone. The seat's a little torn up. That one looks a little better. I got some matching. The seat does not want to get in the frame. There's the seat. Yay! As you can see, I patched that with some matching black duct tape. I probably will have to put some more duct tape on it, and at least in the short term. But maybe get a seat or seat cover. I don't know yet. Haven't decided. And maybe we'll just put a yellow seat on it. Why not? Get a nice little deer logo on it. Overall, I was a little iffy about it when I first got it. It has the Kohler Command in it. Not necessarily known to be the best engine, but it's growing on me. I still like my Briggs better, but the Kohler Command is actually growing on me. We're probably going to see a few different engines in here. I'm working on something for the lawn air right now. My initial idea with the Briggs didn't work out because the engine was gone. So I have to come up with a new idea for an engine, to get a hold of a new engine for that. And I have one in mind. I just have to see if I can acquire it or not. So there's that. Oh yeah, like what we started with. The machine that's behind me that you have not yet seen, that's, like I was mentioning, was part of the original Lawn Air line, and well, I'll show it to you. This thing right here, the Ryan D. Thatcher. I don't remember what exactly model number it is. I'd have to look that up. I don't even remember what year it is. This is a piece of equipment that does not get used very frequently. I am in a zone or area. You don't really require a lot of dethatching. We don't really have a huge long growing season. Some thatch is actually pretty good. Deal with a lot of cool weather grasses, so they don't require the dethatching. Every once in a while, though, I run into a lawn that has some kind of issue, and you got to bring this thing out. This particular one, I'm just going to be using it to clean up a lot of dead spots. Just grass that's been abused by the heat, but abused by grubs, and is now just dead, but it's still on the surface. So we're going to use that just kind of to break it up, rake it up. And there's a lot of soil erosion in the area as well. So we're going to have to put in some new dirt. But I'm sitting here, I'm trying to find, where did they put the numbers? Usually they're on the housing, but I don't see them there. Where do they hide those suckers? I don't know. It's an old engine. We'll just leave it at that. How about that? I want to say it's an 83. But we got some work I got to do on it. What it is the storage area that this goes in. Basically, it comes right about here. So I have to take the handle off. And when I put the handle back on it, I put it back on upside down. So that's step one, is we got to flip the handle around. That's pretty easy. It's held in by 2 pins. Don't need that. And it pops right out. And we need to put the handle back on. That slides in there. Now we just got to put the pins back in. The one on the engine side is a little tricky. This one's pretty easy. For that, the engine side, I got a special tool for that. Things are getting really tight in this garage right now. So, inside, I just lost it. There we go. Come on, get back in there. There we go. I got these right here, these long reach pliers. These are wonderful because it's just a little hitch pin. It's plugged in and goes in there. Sure, make a liar out of me. There we go. That pin's in. Now let me adjust the camera again, and I'll show you the handle hookup, because that was something I haven't put on yet, because I put the handle upside down. And when I put this away, I actually left it connected to the belts, so that's all connected. What isn't connected is this area right up here. And there's a spring that goes on that. I can never remember, does it go up top or below? I think it's supposed to go below. If not, we'll try it and see if that works. And the way that's rubbing, let's try it up top and see if that's any better. Remember correctly, both ways are not all that great. Yeah, that's better. So that's pretty simple. The next thing is I couldn't find an air filter, with these old engines. I typically have trouble doing that. So I found this housing here that kind of holds up there pretty good. At least it'll help filter the air. There's a screw that goes in there, and it should work if I can find the right screw, but guess what? When I put it away, that screw stuck up. And it wouldn't fit in my storage area, because like I said, the storage area, there's barely any clearance from the top of this engine. So, I can't find that screw. But this thing stays in place pretty good just on its own. I have started it up, so I do know it starts. And we're going to have a fix for that. I'll adjust the camera again, and I'll show you the fix for that. Okay, so this air housing right here, I just need it to run tomorrow. Like I said, I don't use this machine very frequently. I just need it to get going tomorrow. I can go to the hardware store, try to find the right screw. I do know I can get a hold of it. I do have the thread sizes at least. Just have to figure out the right length. And so first off, there's a hole here on top where there's supposed to be a screw. What we're going to do is take a little electrical tape, fix that up so we're not getting any dust or anything in there. And then on top of it, well, there's nothing to hold the lid on because there's no screw. So we're just going to take a little bit of black electrical tape. We'll just take it off and do it. It'll hold better that way, right? And stick that on there.
You see that? You see that right down there? That thing that's hanging off the muffler right there? That thing? That's the bolt that's missing that I'm doing all this electrical tape work because I can't find it. That's what I was missing the entire time. So I guess I just had to look a little harder, but it was there the entire time. So I eventually did find it and got it back in and had to take all the electrical tape off. But that was that right there. That thing right there is what I was missing.
I don't really want to cover up any of the holes on the bottom here. I might have to. Just to get one that goes all the way around. Yeah, I got a few holes covered up, but that should be okay. We'll pop that sucker on. And find a screw eventually. Hopefully I can remember. I don't use this machine very frequently. In our climate, it's not really needed. There's some people who will rave about dethatching their lawns. They're using their electric sun joes. And guess what I just found? The screw I've been missing. What the heck? So, we're going to talk about grass seed. This particular seed, as you can see, is a shady mix. It's a mix of different seeds. You know, talking about grass seed gets kind of tricky because depending on where you are, where you live, the type of grass and everything else can be different. Where I'm at, one of the most popular grasses is Kentucky bluegrass. Believe it or not, Kentucky bluegrass is not from Kentucky. It's actually technically an invasive species that we plant regularly. It's from Europe and Asia. And it found its way into Kentucky because they would grow it for cattle. And it handled overall just really well to the hot suns and everything else. As a matter of fact, this shady mix, if you look at it, I talk about how popular Kentucky bluegrass is. This shade mix, red fescue, it's about a quarter of Kentucky bluegrass. The largest percentage is creeping red fescue. I usually get a sunshade and it has creeping red fescue in it. It doesn't have the Mercury Kentucky bluegrass, but usually it has some ryegrass in here too. Typically what we see in my area is the Kentucky bluegrasses and the fescues. The fescues tend to grow faster. They tend to be a little hardier, in my opinion, than the Kentucky bluegrass. A lot of people like to plant their lawns 100% seed Kentucky bluegrass. That's great. That's wonderful until you have that, until you get that mold spore or whatever, that fungus that attacks Kentucky bluegrass very quickly and doesn't attack other grasses very quickly, but just the Kentucky bluegrass, because then your entire lawn dies and you're crying about it. Yeah, let's face it, that's what you're going to do. You're going to cry. I know. You're going to cry because all your Kentucky bluegrass is dead because of a fungus. And if you would have had some fescues or something, you'd at least have some green grass. So, that's why I always recommend to people a mix of grasses, because you never know, certain bugs like to eat some grass and not others, and this is going to help you keep your lawn greener longer. Depending on where you're at, like I said, if you're in Florida, you're dealing with Bermuda and stuff like that, you might need to dethatch more because you have a longer growing season. We're getting towards, this is now September, getting towards the end of September. Come mid-October, usually we have our first frost, which marks the end of the growing season. With how everything is going now, and there's a giant spider, and I'm not gonna put it on there for those of you who are afraid of spiders, but there's like a giant spider that just kind of like fell on a web. It was really cool. Anyhow, I digress. So ultimately, I can't really talk too much about seed because what I say about seed might not, appeal to you or might not contend to, depending on where you are in the country and what kind of grass you're growing. But with the longer seasons, you might do a more frequent dethatching. Getting back though to seed, every bag of seed has a tag on it. It looks something like this, if it's good seed. If you went to the hardware store and picked up seed, they usually print it on the bag. That's something I know Scott's. I don't think I have any really cheap seed anymore here to use. I used to use some Scott seed, but I don't see it anymore. I think I used that all up. But it will tell you, and it'll tell you all the blends and how much percentage it is. I usually do a sun and shade, like I was mentioning. That thing is almost 50% Kentucky bluegrass. That's probably all of your sun stuff, and then the shade is typically that they put in our fescues. I have a sun variety here that has a lot of Kentucky bluegrass in it. I think it's something like 60% Kentucky bluegrass. It's an expensive seed. It's a sun seed. It's actually a coated seed. So we've had a really dry time, and that should help retain some of the moisture. And there's certain things you want to look at on this other than the percentage of seeds. Yeah, you want to make sure you got the nice grass that you're looking for. But getting towards the bottom, you'll find things such as other crop seeds. Now this one has a 0.67% of other crop seeds. In an ideal world, and yes, I have had seed with this, a lot of seeds with this are 0. So this seed, wherever, when they did the testing, this seed probably came from the edge of the farm field and got mixed in with the farmer next door's corn or beans or wheat or whatever he was. Probably wheat is probably more than likely, because I believe most of the stuff, if you look, they'll tell you where it's mined from. Canada, Oregon, Minnesota, Washington, Oregon, or where the seed comes from. So whatever they grow in Oregon is probably where it hit. Or it could have been Minnesota or Washington or Canada, for that matter. When they test the seed, other crop seeds got in it. So this test batch might have been at the edge of the field next to the other farmer's wheat seed or whatever he was growing. So other crop seed got in here. You typically, in an ideal world, you want 0. So if you get that stuff from the middle of the field, it will probably be 0, because anything that's going to get in there is other grass seed. There's also another one, which is inert matter, 1.36. Inert matter is not that big of a factor. You can have a high percentage of that without it affecting the seed at all or your lawn at all. So you really don't want a high percentage, because that means you're getting less seed. You need more inert matter. But that percentage isn't too big of an effect on what's going to happen to your lawn in the long run. So, but yeah, if it gets over 2%, you probably just want to pass on it, because then you start getting into more inert matter than seed. And then is the last one, and this is one of the ones you really want to look at and stare at. Weed seed. You don't want to go planting weeds on your lawn. Plain and simple. So, like I said, this probably came from the fringes of the field, is where this test came from. And this says it has 0.01% weed seed. That's a pretty good percentage. In an ideal world, and yes, I have had seed like this, the sunshade seed that I would typically get would have 0% weed seed in it. Having a 0.01, not a big deal. You're going to plant a few weeds here or there. Who knows if they'll even grow. What you want to stay away from is when that number gets really, really high. You probably get up to about 1.5 if you're getting, and that would be good quality from a hardware store. So the hardware store stuff, that the Scott's varieties or any of the really cheap varieties you get from Menards, I can't even think of any name brands of them, are probably going to have a high weed seed. If this label isn't on the bag, walk away from it. Just walk away. But you're going to have a pretty high weed seed in a lot of those. They'll probably be like at about 1.4, something like that. So if you're buying hardware store seed, it's not great seed. I typically tell people don't go over 1% if you're actually looking for quality seed. If you're going to the hardware store, don't look for anything over 2%. And yes, I have seen grass seed. I was over in Rural King. I don't know what off-brand it was, but it was something like 5% weed seed. It was really, really bad. And we don't have Rural King in this area, but this is one thing I do. When I go in there, I look for the grass seed at the farm stores or wherever, and I look at the labels on it. One seed, I know that was really kind of weird, had a high weed content in it, was Hound Dog, and it's actually known to be a good brand. So it's important to read your labels and know what kind of seed you're getting. I get this from a wholesaler. I actually don't buy it wholesale, but I get it from a wholesaler, and this wholesaler is very known for their good quality seed, so I typically just take whatever they give me. The other one to find is noxious weed seed, and that was another thing, that bag of seed that I forgot the brand name of, that was really, really bad. It had noxious weed seed in it. This is the stuff you don't want. If it has any kind of noxious weed seed in it, I don't care where you're getting it from. I don't care what kind of quality you think it is. It's junk. Just walk away from it. Do not buy it. It's just junk seed. Do not give money to that company. They're selling you a bum product. One of the things I tell people too with the weed seed, because I just used some Scott's on someone's lawn because they have a special pet blend that it does have weed seed in it. It was about a 1.41, I think, which isn't bad, but he gets his lawn treated for weeds. It was actually one of the company that I work with that does lawn stuff. It was one of their customers that ended up getting referred to me for the service. Anyway, so he gets his lawn treated, he gets it fertilized, he gets it treated for weeds. So that weed seed doesn't become a big deal. The noxious weed seed does, because it is very possible those chemicals that they use won't kill them, and they'll just spread and spread and spread. That's really what you want to be weary of, is that noxious weed seed, especially if you're spraying your lawn. Weed seed isn't too bad, but you got to remember, the more weed seed you have, the more likely you are to have stuff that sticks. And if you're treating your lawn, it's probably eventually going to kill it, but you got more seed in there to possibly stick, and less grass seed and more weeds per se that you're planting, and that you're just looking to kill off. So that noxious weed seed, you want 0 in it. If there's anything but 0, walk away from the seed. It's not worth the budget price that you're going to get for it, because that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be like priced really, really low, and you think you're going to get a really great deal, but you're going to be planting weeds and not a lawn. So stay away from noxious weed seeds. But that's it in a nutshell. And that pretty much follows any kind of grass seed that you're going to get. Is you want to look at those 3 things: the other crop seeds, because ultimately other crop seeds are weeds. Inert matter, because you don't want something that's going to be 50% inert matter, even though the inert matter isn't going to do it. What is inert matter? And a lot of it could be the soil from the ground from when they harvested. It could be bits of the grass from when they harvested the seeds, that got stuck in the... So it's not necessarily bad. It's just, it's not seed. And then the weed seed is a big one to find too. And like I said, this is why treating your lawn for weeds is important, because a lot of times you're planting the weeds. And noxious weed seeds, like I said, 0, nothing, nada. Walk away if it has any. This has 0.01% weed seed. If that was 0.01% noxious weed seed, walk away from it. Don't buy that seed. So, so I get my seed from a wholesaler. that sells in non-wholesale or bundles, I guess you can say. So anybody could actually go in there and purchase their seed for their lawn, buy a 50-pound bag, or they sell 25-pound bags too. I ran into that recently. My son and Shade, they sold me a 50-pound bag. They didn't have it. I ended up picking up two 25. They ended up giving me two 25-pound bags in exchange, so I got the same amount of seed. Paid the larger bulk pricing for it. A lot of nurseries will actually work with those wholesalers to be able to sell them individually as well. So I know this particular one here, Conserve FS, which is in our area, in my area, is a big one, and nurseries will actually work with them to sell their product in the nurseries. They'll buy it wholesale and then go sell it in the nursery. So that's the logistics of that. If you go into the hardware store, you walk into Menards, you walk into Home Depot, you walk into Lowe's. Typically I like to get my seed from Lowe's. If I'm going to go to a hardware store, I've stopped pretty much completely going to Lowe's. I would go to Home Depot for that special pet stuff. That's pretty much it. Turn over the bag, look at the label, and see, exactly what they have. And if these numbers are astronomical, these other crop, these inert matter, the weed seeds, and the noxious weed seeds, if those numbers are astronomical, don't get the seed, no matter how cheap it is. Because that's exactly what you're getting, is cheap seed, because there's barely any seed in it. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you about seed, but yeah, this is just something that keeps coming up. Where do I find good seed? How do I know if I got good seed? It's all in the label. It's all about reading the label. Like anything. If you want to know what's in food, you read the label. You want to know what's in your grass seed bag, you read the label. And it'll tell you. And that's the best advice I can give you, is just read the label and know what you're looking at. And like I said, you don't need to know too much as long as you can trust the seed as a whole. That's the nutshell. That's buying the seed. So if you're dethatching or core aerating and you want to overseed, you now know what kind of seed to get and what to look for seed. And and by the way, that the Sun Joes, no, they're not dethatchers. They're not even. Just save yourself the money and go get a metal, or I would recommend a metal leaf rake, but you can get a plastic one too. It'll do that same thing, and it'll pull up just as much. You're not doing anything other than you just spent a lot of money on something you plug into the wall and need a lot of extension cord to run. It doesn't save you time. It doesn't save you energy. It just, because after you go through it, you still got to take the rake and rake all the stuff up. So you might as well just rake it up all at the same time. That's my theory. And, well, I've rambled long enough. Way too long, probably. You've probably stopped listening to me a while ago. If you're even watching this, you're probably trying to find, some other YouTuber to go watch or something. I don't know, but I've rambled way too long. And about seed. Can you tell I like seed? I really like seed. This is my life and this is my passion. If you wonder why I'm working on lawnmowers and everything all the time, this is why, is because I'm actually a landscaper by trade. And this is what excites me. Seed excites me. These machines, they excite me. Dirt excites me. I love taking pH, samples and things like that and looking at the data and seeing how good soil is. This stuff excites me. Basically, I live in suburbia, and this is as close as I get to being a farmer, because I live in suburbia. I've always wanted to be a farmer my entire life. It's kind of weird. I grew up in the city, or the suburbs of the city, which is basically the city, and all my life, and the only thing I've ever wanted to do is work on a farm. And this is about as close as I can get and still be near family and everything else, is to be a landscaper. So this is what I love to do. I love to talk about it. And I got an opinion just like everyone else. And Some people will argue with my opinion. You don't like my opinion, you don't have to listen to it. Just read the label. I mean, it's right there. Just read the label. So that's just my 2 cents. And I can just go on and on and on, about dethatching and core aeration and, oy. And then we can talk about the carburetor and the Toro here if you like. It's just, this is what drives me. It's funny because money isn't even a big motivator for me. I just being able to work. I enjoy working. I enjoy doing what I do. And that's the bottom line of it. I want to do a good job, and I want to take my knowledge, and I'm always looking to expand and grow my knowledge. But I just love what I do. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I'm glad I finally figured it out. It's to be a YouTuber. Absolutely. No, but I'm glad I finally figured out that this is, what I wanted to do. Well, I just got to figure out a way to end this. The end. Bye. God bless. Have fun. See you next time.